One of the creepiest creators on TikTok just dropped one of the worst apologies I think I've ever seen, right? So the guy in question is Michael Duval. Now, you may have heard of him, you may not have. In case you haven't, Michael Duval works in a preschool and in a very, school-like setting, right? But on the side, they do OnlyFans. Now, those two things don't usually mix particularly well. In the UK, I don't know about in America, but in the UK, if you work for a school, it is your job to make sure that you don't bring the school or the setting into disrepute. Now, I don't know about in the States, but in the UK, if someone was found out to be an OF creator as a teacher, they'd probably lose their job, right? Or they'd be met with an ultimatum. Either you stop what you're doing on OF and you continue with your career, or you leave here and you go over there. It's happened in the past, right? Now, Michael Duval has had some very questionable things that they've done, right? From allegedly making, well, apparently it did happen. I haven't seen it firsthand because I don't look for this kind of thing. But apparently he, was making a saucy video and basically spaffed his sauce all over a toilet seat, which is weird in the first place. But what makes this even worse is the fact that the toilet seat in question was a toddler toilet seat, all right? One of those ones that you put on a toilet to, for kids to use the toilet, like, without falling in, essentially. And this brought in a lot of questions, like, where the hell are you? First of all, people knew that they worked in, like, a childcare setting, so it brought into question if they were making these videos whilst at that setting, which brings in whole loads of other questions like, what on earth do you think you're playing at? It's, it goes from messed up to messed up, all right? And they basically spoke about the whole situation over on their TikTok in a recent video that's over 10 minutes long, which was captioned, I've never been good with words. But I just wanted to let you know the full story from my mouth. I'm sorry if I've let everyone down. So let's have a little look at the video. Obviously, I've seen bits and pieces of it. From what I've seen, it's absolutely horrendous. Like, when it comes to apologies, there is no accountability, even though the caption says taking accountability. But we'll watch it together, shall we?
Church come knock on my door, and they pretty much said, like, do you remember requesting to learn about the word of Jesus? And so I just said no, but I have a lot of followers. I'm getting a lot of hate right now, so that's who sent you. And they were really nice, really understanding, and then they went on their way. But I figure we need to address it, or else people will never know the truth. People will never.
So here's red flag number one for me, right? It's not this person coming on camera and saying, right, I'm getting a lot of flack right now, let me take accountability or, explain the story. Instead, it's, oh, you guys sent someone to my house, which means that I now feel like I have to respond because you've done this, so I'm going to do this in retaliation. So basically, the accountability isn't even there. You've just done it off the back of an action that someone else has done. So where's the accountability, and where's the, forthcoming with your own want to do this apology? Otherwise, if that incident with the church people never happened, would you be sat there doing the apology? Probably not.
Never know my story. I've never been great at words, so that's why there's going to be cuts in this. But I guess let's just start from the very beginning. In 2020 is when I made my OnlyFans, and I wasn't very successful on it, and I was unemployed, and I didn't really post a whole lot. So I had it in 2020, used it for probably not even a year, and then I dropped it. And so in 2021 is when I met my ex-fiance, and we got engaged in 2022, and we also broke up in 2022. But I would say that this whole OnlyFans story starts from when we were still together. So while we were still together, we were very much struggling with sex and just having that appeal with each other. So one thing he suggested to kind of get us going was for me to restart my OnlyFans. And then if I was making money from what we were doing, we would be more motivated to do it more often. That was never
Okay, so again, another red flag, right? Not in the apology, but just in a relationship. If your incentive to do the deed with your partner is money, then yeah, that's not a healthy relationship. I'm not one for relationship advice, but the writing's on the wall that maybe this was not the relationship and maybe breaking up. I would never advocate for anyone to break up, but maybe it was the best decision.
Enough, and then it went from doing that to he convinced me to do threesomes. So we did a couple threesomes, and now his parents were swingers, so it makes sense that he would be into all this stuff that I was never going to be enough. But I rode with it because we just got engaged and I was trying to stay together. I didn't want to be alone. After the threesomes weren't really doing much for us, it just got to a point where he would go hook up with people and it was okay if we saw other people pretty much. I never did it, but he did it a lot of times. I said no whenever he first suggested that I start my OnlyFans, and then it was a lot of convincing. So then I started it again, and then it was a lot of convincing for the threesomes. It was a lot of convincing for the doing it with other people. And then it got to the point where we broke up anyways. Now, a lot of people know why we broke up. He was very much abusive. He had anger issues. I mean, not just physically abusive, but mentally abusive. And the thing is, when you're gay, one of you's the bottom, one of you's the top, typically, not always. And so I was the bottom, and I just wasn't putting out as much as he wanted. He ideally wanted that every single day. And so that's why I was like, well, for us to be happy together, I'm fine with you doing it with other people. Was I living a happy life? No, I was completely miserable, and we ended up breaking up anyways. And after we broke up was whenever I really started going down. So after we broke up, I just started living on my own for the first time ever. And I was already doing kind of well for my OnlyFans. From us posting content together, I had like 360 subs, which is a lot of money a month. I was getting a lot of money a week. So when we broke up, that's what I focused a lot on. And it's embarrassing how hard I try hard at it. I used to do so many things that I just don't do anymore, like wear wigs, like dress feminine, just wearing lingerie. And like every single day I would try hard. I would come home from work and I would try it. I would wake up in the morning, I would try it, and obviously I would be at work and I would try it. Now, growing up how I did, it's no shock that I was really excited seeing all this money that was coming in. And so I tried really hard. I posted hundreds, if not thousands of times a day in so many Reddit pages, on my OnlyFans, on my Twitter, just stuff like that. And as you know, I was working as a preschool teacher, technically pre-K, pre-kindergarten. And so I had a lot of free time at work where I would post on those apps. I did go.
Okay, so obviously, again, another red flag right there. So working in a kindergarten, pre-kindergarten, whatever, to us that would be a nursery over here. Basically preschool age, which is, can range from 0 to, newborn, essentially, up to the age of about 4 when children start in reception age, which is when they start school in the UK. So very young children, right? You can see where the issues are going to start to creep in.
Go to the bathroom a few times and snap a nude. A lot of the reason why I did that was because I was getting paid by people, and now when I said that, people thought I was getting paid by I don't know if you could say this word, PDF files, you know what I'm trying to say. People thought I was catering to them, and now with some of those Reddit groups I was in, I should not have been in. They were definitely like dad, son, trans girls. I got kicked out of a lot of groups for not even fitting the criteria, and it was definitely weird. But when you're in sex work, I don't know. I was just too blinded by the money that was coming in. I know that
the accountability is not quite there at the moment. It's just, I was blinded by the money, which, yeah, most people would be if you're making a lot of money. But then again, if you're making that much money, it begs the question of why didn't you just give up the kindergarten stuff? And that's where the controversies have come in, right? People didn't care about the OF stuff. Loads of people do OnlyFans, and it's like, that's by the by, right? But when you work in a school and you would go into a bathroom and snap a nude in the bathroom at a preschool, that's where people are like, what are you doing? That is not the place for it. Go home. Do it in your own time. And also, you've got to think from the point of view of the employers of this person in the kindergarten, right? They're paying that person to go to the bathroom to snap nudes to make money on OF, which is so weird. So weird, man. I don't know. We move.
That's no excuse. So then fast forward to the day I took my first nude at work. I honestly don't remember it, but I do remember that I would get paid say $45 to take a picture. They'd say, go take it, and I would. Now, I never did any of this while clocked in. I wasn't allowed to have bathroom breaks like that unless it was an emergency, of course. So when I was in the bathroom, I was upstairs, classrooms were downstairs, I was far away from everyone, in the teacher's bathroom that was locked. That's another thing people are confused about, because they see that the toilets had little training seats on it, and there was 2 toilets in the bathroom, which was kind of weird. And
which kind of brings into question the part that I mentioned before about, you know, the alleged video where there was this, you know, actions taking place and there was the toilet seats.
I think like originally a long time ago, those were kids' bathrooms and we would use them in an emergency, but for the most part, those were for the teachers. I'm not excusing anything I did. There's definitely no excuse, but I do just want to say that it would have happened at that time at any job I worked at. If I was working at the movie theater, it still would have happened there instead. It just so happened to be at the daycare, which makes everything so much more worse. I didn't even fully remember anything until people went on my OnlyFans and they found it for me. And a lot of people are saying that I'm still getting paid for those posts or that they're still up, but they're not. I took those down already. And if you go to my OnlyFans, you'll see I have thousands and thousands and thousands of posts. And I scrolled so far as much as I could to find them all. And it was probably like 4 or 5 different posts. There's no reason or excuse I shouldn't have waited till I got home. I guess I was just too focused on the money. And at that time, I hadn't started my social media career, or maybe I just started it, but I was really focused on the success I was getting on OnlyFans and all the money I was earning, and I used that money to start my shopping vlogs, and that's how I got started on social media full-time. But I didn't become full-time overnight. It took me over a year to start accumulating money like that and then to start being successful on social media. Should I have done it? No. It was gross. It doesn't excuse anything, but at the same time, I hate when people call me names when I know it's not true, or people assume that I was doing stuff that I wasn't doing just because it was at a daycare where it...
Okay, so obviously, yes, to a degree, I understand where they're coming from, right? I understand that, where, like, you know, should they be getting called names or, like, falsely accused of being something that they're not? No. But does that excuse the behaviour? No! Like, there is no world in which I can think of where this would be deemed acceptable. Right? Like, I can't think of a time where I could think, like, do you know what? Like, even if you worked in a different setting, if you're there, like, working and then going into the bathroom to snap a nude picture to post to your OF, like, you do that stuff on your own time, you know? I don't know, man. It's a weird old situation. It's really bizarre, and I'm genuinely curious to see how other people feel about this, because to me, especially working in that kind of an environment, that should never be a thing. Regardless of whether you went to, you know, the teachers' toilets, regardless of whether, you know, it was after hours, it's the place that you're in. That's what the issue is. It's not that you did it, it's the fact that you did it in that location. You could have, I don't know. And then also you got to think, the like setting, right? And like I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's just bizarre.
It had nothing to do with what I was doing or what I was putting out or the people I was talking to. Those people did not know where I work. Those people did not care where I work. I remember I did post in some of those groups before, like, I'm a teacher. I was trying to have that shock factor. I was trying to have that thing that makes me kind of different. A lot of the captions and the things
that's what I was going to say. It's this shock factor that made them popular in the first place, right? You think of Bonnie Blue, you think of Lily Phillips, you think of all of these people. It's the shock factor that really blows them up. And this guy clearly knew that by posting in these settings and like being like, oh, I'm a teacher in a kindergarten, and having, you know, maybe like some little setup pieces might add to the shock factor. It might get their name out there a bit more exposure, a bit more attraction to the OF, which then means more money. Dirty tactics.
I would use, like, I know I shouldn't be doing this here, I would use as clickbait, because I know whenever you post like that on your OnlyFans, people can see your captions, but they can't see the stuff that you're actually posting. Now, my work did know about my OnlyFans. I made a video about this a while ago, how people sent my news in like a letter to my bosses, and my bosses confronted me about it, but they completely had my back. They never judged me, but they found it disgusting that there were people online who were coming after me like that, and so we did what we could to protect myself and not let people know where I work anymore. And I know my full story, I know the truth, but that does not excuse what I did at the preschool, and that does not excuse... I also have racist tweets, which I know if I address this, people will bring that up. I have tweets from like 2014 where I said the most insane things. I said things about animals I shouldn't have said, like abusive, not sexual.
Okay, I didn't know about that part. That part is messed up as well, and you add it into the context. This person's just completely off the rails. I mean, at least they've got the bollocks to come forward and be like, you know what, yeah, I also made some really bad tweets back in the day, like I'm talking racist and, you know, animal abuse and stuff like this, you know, it's bad, And then just to be like, oh, you know, it's just abusive stuff, not you know, sexual stuff, ha ha ha. Like, jeez, man, that is bonkers.
And I said things about people, groups of people, black people, Asian people. I was very much unhinged and kind of wild as a kid, and I don't want to use the house I lived in as an excuse. There really is no excuse, but I do want to just let you know that the person I've been on social media this whole last few years, the person you've seen me grow into the last year specifically, that's the person who I am today. And so that's why I acted so removed from that and almost like I didn't care or something, because it was so long ago in my mind that it's not I didn't care, it's just it doesn't resonate with me anymore.
That just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't, like, basically what you tried to do was, like, you know, brush it under the carpet as far as you possibly could until you had no choice but to address it. And that's where we're at today. You basically were just like, you know what, I'll brush this under the carpet, pretend that was like, you know, that's the old me, I'm a changed person now, and then pretend that it never happened. Jeez, man, if only the internet was that simple.
I was also doing a lot of drugs, and I know I said I didn't want to bring up any excuses, but that's just partially why I don't really remember everything. And so seeing it come to light, it's almost like me seeing it for the first time, because I've completely shut it out of my mind, blocked it out. What I did was wrong, and I know a lot of people are going to say I'm only coming on here because I'm getting a lot of hate, and I don't know what to say to that besides, I guess, yeah, you're right, I'm getting a lot of hate, and it makes you really think, and it's really hard to not believe what people are saying about you. But I just wanted to tell you guys my story. I wanted to tell you the truth from my mouth, because I know hearing it from rumors, it can sound a lot worse than it was. I promise you, no kids were ever involved. What I did in that bathroom had nothing to do about the building I was in. I know I let a lot of people down, and the people I let down the most is mothers and people with kids and people who thought they could trust me and knew who I was. I just want to say I'm truly sorry. I never meant to make anyone question the type of person I was. I never meant to hurt anyone. I never meant to make those mistakes. And people say they weren't mistakes, they were choices, which is absolutely true. I chose to do that stuff. I regret it so much. It's just...
The thing is, right, is he talks about people that they've let down, right? And fine. So I've got a child in nursery right now, right? And if I found out that one of the people that worked there was doing OF, first of all, I'd be like, all right, that's kind of weird, but, you know, whatever they do outside, everyone needs a side hustle, I guess. But then if I found out that they were posting snaps of them nude from the location that my son was at, my lord, you can expect I'd come down like a ton of bricks on that shit. Like, I would be like, nah, pulling him out of the fucking nursery. I'd be like, no chance, because how do you know that your child's, like, is safe in that sense from being involved in that? Do you know what I mean? And also, like, what negativity does that bring to the location if the location's found? What harm could that bring to the children in the location? I know that seems like so, like, far removed, and it sounds so dystopian and so out there, but people are weird. People will go out of their way to find these people, like these OF creators. It's happened in the past. Like, they're like, you know, fantasies will want to be acted out, and they will literally go and find these people to no lengths. Like, oh, I don't know, I would be livid.
Just not the person who I am anymore, and I would hope that people who love me and really care about me can see me for the person who I am, the person who I have been. But if you choose to unfollow me or you choose to not support me, please go ahead, but wasting the church's time by sending people to my door is not the right thing to do. People said that they let the authorities know, and for that I'm just going to say, like, let them know, let them come at me and check me, because there's absolutely nothing. I was never coming from a place of ill intent whenever I was doing it. I guess I just don't really know what else to say, and I didn't really want to say anything just because I feel like that's not who I am anymore, so that's why I ignored it. I know this video is going to be so long. I know you don't even care about that. I don't know why I said that, but I just want you to hear the story and the truth from my mouth. People have a way of making it sound a lot worse than it really was, and I know it was bad, but there was truly no ill intention. I was broke. I was heartbroken. I was going through a lot in my life, and the only thing I had control over was my OnlyFans, and so I was really hyped for it at the moment, but when I joined social media, I realized that's where my focus was at, and that's what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, and, well, maybe not the rest of my life, but what I wanted to do full time while I could. I know there's people who are still going to hate me. I know there's people who are never going to believe me no matter what, and I just wanted to come on here and tell my truth. I've never told the full story about how I began, so hopefully this gives you some insight. And whether you choose to support me or not is completely up to you. It's just I wanted to tell my truth because I feel like a lot of people are trying to tell it for me. This is the last.
I hate the whole my truth thing as well, because there is no such thing as my truth, your truth, their truth, his truth, her truth. It's just the truth, right? Like, there is no such thing as my truth. Like, there is just what actually happened, which is the truth. Do you know what I mean? When people are like, oh, you know, I'm here telling my truth. I know you've heard what they're saying, but this is my side of the story. Like, that's then, like, that, your truth could be like a depiction of what you want it to be. That's not the truth, you know? I don't know, man. It's a weird situation. And again, the worst apology, and again, something that they've chosen not to address by choice, then pinned it on, you know, everything but taking accountability for the actions. Sort of. They did kind of take accountability, but, you know, it's got to be one of the worst apologies I've ever seen. You know, yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious to see, you know, this will separate the parents from the non-parents, I reckon, for sure. You know, parents will be probably in agreement with me, and I reckon non-parents probably won't see an issue. But when you become parents, if you ever become parents, you might see it from our point of view. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. While you're down there, jump to get the hell out of that like button and subscribe. And until next time, I'll speak to you later. Peace.